Welcome to another episode of the Boys in Motion podcast. We're really excited to bring you, is episode 4. We're talking about triathlons today. Tyler is our resident triathlete, so we're excited to hear about his experiences. We're going to focus a little bit more on swimming and the challenges of becoming a triathlete. But before we get kicked off, Andrew's got some exciting updates on more of the big business side of the Boys in Motion. Kick it.
Oh, we got some exciting news this week. We've officially launched our website where you can find all of our socials, find our podcast, our Instagram posts, TikTok, as well as our Strava group. So if you head over to boysinmotion.com, click on those social links and see all the stuff that we're up to. And just wanted to give a huge shout out to Abby for creating our new logo. You'll see it there, nice big on our website. So you'll see that across all of our. So just a huge shout out. We love the logo. So if anyone needs any work or anything done, let us know and we'll send you her way. All right. So triathlons.
Let's do
Tyler,
it.
tell me about it. What is this crazy thing that you like to do? This
Let's do it.
absolute insane activity.
Swim, bike, run. That's all it is, baby. Swim, bike, run.
So how did you get into triathlons and why was it appealing to you?
I will bring it back to 2020. COVID hit, and basically I got nudged by my buddy Charlie. He was like, "Hey, you know what? I'm getting into this thing. It's called triathlon. You want to come out for a swim with me?" I was like, "You know what? I live by the water." I was like, "You know what? Let's go out for a swim." Didn't know how to swim. Doggy paddled about 25 meters and said, "This is enough. Not for me. Not a swimmer, man." And he was just like, let's just keep swimming, let's keep swimming. And we were running previously a little bit, got into running, brought the swimming involved a little bit more, and then slowly I had a fixie as well. Just started doing some rips around on the fixie. It was nice. It was real nice. But slowly but surely we got into triathlon training, and then we set a goal that I guess at the end of that summer in September we were going to do a Olympic distance triathlon. So that's how it kind of all started. The gyms were closed, and we said, you know what, we're going to bring everything outside, get fit outside. So it was quite the start, that's for sure.
That's cool. So a triathlon, to break it down, is a single event and you're swimming, then biking, then running. And you need to kind of balance your training around all three of those disciplines. You basically need to have a diverse skill set of endurance sport, which is I think what's so special about it. Some would say maybe master of none, but good at all three certainly with you.
I would say a little bit of, yeah, a little bit of half decent at all three, I guess you could say. A lot of people too have the duathlete kind of down pat, but the swim is definitely the most challenging for most, I would say. Not all, definitely. There's a lot of good swimmers out there, but definitely for me and the rest of some amateur fields, definitely swimming is quite challenging.
Yeah, that would definitely be where I would struggle as well. So if I wanted to do one of these triathlons, how do they look like as far as different distances? And which one can I pick to do the least amount of swimming?
Well, quite the real answer to that is you just sign up and you just get in the water. But no, the I guess the I like to start with the standard is the I guess the cream of the crop. The Olympic is the 1.5K swim. It's a 40K bike into a 10K run. I guess that's the one that they do compete in the Olympics. So the pros go obviously pretty fast at that, but that's I would say the standard, and it jumps up into distance and endurance, and it also comes down. So for those who might not enjoy swimming as much as runner man Andy, you could do a 750-meter swim, which is a sprint. So it kind of dials down half for the sprint, so 750, 20K, 5K run, and then you could get into in more endurance, as in the half Ironman and then the full Ironman, which is like they double in distance each way. So the 70.3 half distance would be 1.9 swim, 90K, and half marathon. Full distance would be 3.880 bike and marathon run. To as a dessert, the cherry on top with the marathon.
That is
So
so insane. Like to me, the full Ironman distance is absurd to be able to go off a 180-kilometer bike ride into running a full marathon, like having done a few brick workouts with you, which is where you're doing a bike workout followed immediately after with a run, is so difficult if you're not training for that. Because I know myself, those first few bike into run workouts that I did with you, my legs just could not move and could not run, despite me being a strong cyclist and a
And
decent
run and
runner.
runner.
Connecting them in the same workout is a whole different challenge. So I do see the appeal of triathlons.
Oh, it's straight jello. It's great. I still couldn't wrap my head. I guess I'll start by I did do a so that was kind of my progression, right? I did an Olympic, I went to a half the year after, and then a full distance the year after that. And I can tell you, I still can wrap my the day of the race, I still can wrap my head around the full distance. But you take it as chunks, I think, and then you get off the bike, you're just like everyone else out there, and you just okay, start back at zero. We're going for a 42K rip around. So it's quite it is quite the feeling, that's for sure.
So you started with an Olympic triathlon. Now you were also doing running events as well. So had you run a full marathon before tackling your half Ironman, or did you really progress towards aiming at a full Ironman before you had even done your first full marathon?
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess I did the half. I actually progressed my running at the same time as I guess triathlon. So I did my first 10K the year I did the Olympic, which was the 10K distance. I did my first half marathon with you, Brian, the spring of my first half Ironman distance, and then my first full marathon the year I did the first full Ironman. So I kind of built. I found it worked. I guess a little bit for me was building the running in the winter for a spring race or a spring running race, as expert running man Andy might say is a nice time of year to do a race for running. And then I would build all summer for the for the triathlon at the end of the summer. So it worked for me in the past, and hopefully it's going to work for me this year. But I kind of I progressed that way, which was kind of fun too in a way. You get better at one sport, and then you get better at all three at the same time.
And yeah, for those, I know for me, Tyler's kind of crazy and just jumped right into the Olympic distance. But I know they also have even shorter than the sprint triathlons. They have something called a try. So if you're kind of a
True.
little hesitant and you just want to really just, I mean, try the thing and see if it is something that interests you without having to have a big time commitment for training, tries are a very good option. I know in Toronto they have one on Toronto Island, where the swim is about 400 meters. I think the bike is 10 kilometers and the run is 2.5 kilometers. So much shorter distances, and then even there are some that are, they cut one event. So if you're not quite ready to do the swim, or I know for some people the run is the harder part, you can just try to focus on two, and then that's kind of a nice easy progression to get into it if you don't have much background in any of them to begin with. So
That's
I
true.
don't
They
know.
have all those options and relay. So you got strength in all three sports, but you can't muster them up together. You could do a team for sure, which is also a very fun way to compete in those days. And the race day is always fun, right? As you guys know. So it's a lot of fun doing it as a group as well.
That is the cheat code.
I am itching to do one with the two of you. So
Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
let's
Stay
see if
tuned. Stay
that
tuned.
happens.
It will.
Quick
It will happen.
quick funny story as well on that part. So me and Charlie walked into the registration, where you go pick up your bib for Ironman Tremblant, and we're both wearing these. I could post it in some sort of chat, but we were both wearing these funky outfits, some Hawaiian outfits, and matching. So, and now we got another guy, Jonathan, matching with us for this year's try. So that's going to be amazing. But we walk into the registration with those suits on, and they go, "Oh, you guys are here for the relay." And I'm no skinny man's myself, and I'm just like, "No, we're here, we're competing." They're like, "Oh, what leg are you doing?" He's like, "No, like we're both competing." And then they still couldn't believe that we were not doing a relay with those suits on. It was amazing. And then we actually became the talk of the village in the Facebook group chat. Everyone was did you see those guys with those suits on? And our goal was to get a picture with the fan. I'm calling him a fan, but a fellow athlete, and we got a picture with the guy. So that was quite funny.
That's amazing. I remember you telling me that you went a little bit viral at
Yeah.
Tremblant because of those matching outfits. And what was crazy, it's not just like matching shirts, but your shorts are matching your shirts as well. And then you're both matching.
And we're upgrading to socks too this year. So we got the socks in, the funky socks.
Free
Love it.
speed.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be lots of speed.
I think you need funky tri-suits too. Just
We were
you gotta
thinking of
level
that.
up.
We were thinking of that. We were thinking the Kingston try in a couple weeks. We might just wear either the tops or the bottoms on top of the suit to match with the spirit of the day. So we'll see how that goes.
I love it. Like an aerodynamic setup on the bike, but then you have your shirts flopping in the wind.
We
Like
might have
Batman
to.
games.
We might have to.
I've done a couple races with him, but his name, well, he always signs up as Jesse the Elf. I think he's local to Southern Ontario, and for running races at least, he dresses as an elf. Like it's like kind of like a spandex suit. But I'm pretty sure he's either like semi-pro, like he's a very good. He does triathlons anyway. I think he might have won the Guelph triathlon that just happened decently recently. So he's like actually like quite serious, but just Jesse the Elf.
Just
So
memeing
yeah,
the whole time. I love it.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
so
So I
funny.
think
I think we should do like a deep dive into some of these meme athletes because there's the guy who like runs barefoot in like caveman apparel just to prove that like all of the sports science equipment is like not necessary if you're just getting into the sport. And then there was also the guy who juggled and I think beat you and I, Tyler, because he ran a sub 3 at the Ottawa Marathon while juggling the whole time. So there's quite a
Belligerent.
few characters out there, and you're one of them, Tyler.
that's crazy. So I mean, I got my funky suit. I'm ready. I'm all geared up to do my triathlon. But for me, I'm so used to, and I think for a lot of people that will be coming into this, if they have experience in one of the sports, because most people will do one of the sports before doing all three, they'll kind of know how to train, build running plans, build swimming plans, or bike plans. But how do you begin to put that all together and balancing the three disciplines? How did you get into that?
I guess with my type of, you could say, personality, I get bored pretty quickly. So I kind of liked it, training for a bunch of different things at the same time. Got bored of running, you go to biking. You get bored of biking, you go to swimming. So it was kind of keeps you engaged and keeps you motivated to get better at three different chunks of things. So like, for example, I just had a rule of thumb at the beginning, like when I was training for my first one, it would be like, do 1 or 2 sessions a week per discipline. So I would try to be in the water twice a week. I try to be in my saddle twice a week, and then running twice a week. And then you kind of scale up from there, and then you could kind of play around with what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, but you kind of try to progress it in a way that you're trying to equally benefit from all three sports, and that's with avoiding injury, right? Because you could really keep your load up, but without taxing your body as much. Let's say as just a round number, 5 hours of running. It'll be harder on your body than 2 hours of running, 2 hours of biking, and an hour of swimming. So it's pretty interesting, and it kept me injury free for the most part as well.
And if like coming in with a strong run background, how can you give me like a kind of a sample, maybe week? Like let's say, give me a sample peak week of what that would look like for someone like me, where you're trying to balance all three. Let's say you're better in one of the disciplines. Let's just say running for this example, where you're still you want to perform in that because that's what you have your advantage in, but you need to help try to develop the other two.
Well, for you, runner man, I say get in the water, eat some fish, drink the pool water, just get in the water. But all jokes aside, I think it would be you could keep your running volume consistent for a seasoned runner, and you start getting on those longer bike rides because you have the cardio ability to get on the bike, but focus as well on technique in the water. So get in the pool, even if it's not outside, get in the pool, get 1 or 2 sessions in. I would kind of emphasize on the disciplines that you're not too good at to start, at least, and then you try to start to equal them off. And I tried right now, because I guess you could, like, I'm half decent at all three. I try to like mimic what the timing of, like, the percentages of my race will be. So just quick percentage wise, like maybe 60% of my training will be cycling hours based, and then I'll do 30% as running, and then the 10 to 20% play around with that in the water, as in outside in the open water and or in the pool. So it's a mix based on, like you said, if you're favoring running or cycling rather than the other sports.
Now, a lot of training plans, like you, of course, have this bulk of mileage and time that you're spending in zone two, or kind of that endurance building zone, but it's still important to incorporate speed work, especially if you're going for some of those shorter distance triathlons. So, how are you incorporating some of that into your training plan? Are you spreading that across the different techniques of swim, bike, run, or are you focusing those on one sport specifically?
I actually found that the hardest thing to balance is keeping the speed work in while trying to manage your volume for all three sports. It's like, for me, it was, I kind of had that on the back burner, but I'm trying to, as you get, I guess, fitter and into your peak shape, you're trying to incorporate that speed back, like you said. Even for the longer distance, the speed is good for the muscles and the legs, and to show how you could, still react to the stimulus that you're trying to give your body.
For sure. And are you doing those speed workouts in the pool, on the bike, and running?
Yeah. So I'll split it all up. Like, I'll do great like threshold workouts on the bike as interval work, or track sessions still on the run. Like, let's say I'll try to hit them still once a week. In the pool too, some speed work definitely helps with your just overall speed in the water and your comfortability pulling through the water. Big shout out to some good training sessions in the pool, that's for sure. With Mike has been a great help in the PN Sportsplex with that. So I try to get into the pool with faster people as well, to just swim faster and see faster people too. Actually helps a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, technique, and we're going to get to this, has got to be huge in swimming. But before we hop to that, something that's big about triathlons is actually having to transition during the race from one discipline to another. And I know you were a little frustrated with how long your transitions were in your first Ironman, and that's a place where you think you could really improve. So is that something you're practicing? Can you walk us through what those transitions look like?
That's a good point. I would really, I strongly suggest you practice transitions, but I have not, and that's why I'm terrible at it. I am pretty bad at transitioning.
Is it because
Easily,
you just get busy chatting a little bit or something?
I'm chatting, putting some sunscreen on, eating pierogies. I got to put that sunscreen on. I'm on the sunscreen game now, so I got to do it. But I was just so flustered. I think, like, focus so much on the activity. I don't have focus for the in between, and I'm like, what do I do? I kind of got lost in that on my first full distance. But I think the more you practice in race as well, and with like tune-up races and stuff like that, just like running, like you want to practice in the environment you're going to race in. So the best way is just to keep doing some even local distance races and smaller stuff throughout the year. And then for your big race, you kind of get the gist of what you're going to do. But transition, definitely you should be practicing somehow, hopping on and off your bike, getting those shoes on quick, slip them in, put the socks on, put wet socks on. You let me know if you could put some wet socks on pretty quick. I don't know. I can't.
That's yeah, that's crazy. And paint me the picture of like what I guess in an ideal world, what does that perfect transition look like as far as what are the important things to be doing and nothing more if you're skipping the pierogies and like time wise, like I know the distance between the swim and the bike can be variable, but how just talk about maybe that time grabbing your bike. Like how long does that take about in an ideal world?
Ideal
Not when you're
world,
chatting.
ideal world, no limits LS. perfect transition. You see all those elite guys, they're in and out of those pro races within a minute or so, at the transition zone, not including the running time from the water and stuff like that. But they have it down to a science. Do they put socks on? Do they not? You have to put your helmet on first, clip it up, like I said, put your socks on or not, and then you grab the bike and you run. Usually the shoes are already clipped in, so that's kind of fun. They have usually a flying mount on some of those pro athletes, but for your average age grouper, you're putting your helmet on first for sure. That's kind of the basic rule, and you put your shoes on, socks, shoes, and you start tap dancing your way to the start line of the bike course, and you hop on over the line. And there's pretty strict rules, and the volunteers help you through the whole situation. But step one is just not forgetting any of those key elements. So even nutrition, like on my most recent race, I forgot sodium, pool water, forgot my sodium pills, and that kind of stressed me out on the run. So it was kind of a switch on the fly, as in nutrition. Like, you have your whole plan in your head, you rehearsed it the night before, but you miss something on the day, and you're kind of derailing a little bit. But it's definitely something you got to walk through.
So transitioning to a little bit of a focus on swimming now, because we've covered in our previous episodes, and you feel free to check those out if you're listening. We did our first big episode about running, and then we looked at cycling, and now let's dig into swimming a little bit more. So swimming, of course, is the first leg of any triathlon if it's progressing in the usual order. But I hear it can be really, really daunting for beginners, especially because of open water conditions. Can you talk about some of those challenges and what it's like tackling those?
Open water swimming could be the best day of your life or the worst. It's crazy. You could have water like glass. It's amazing, just a dream. But also you could have pretty choppy weather, wind and current and visibility. Like, you're looking, a lot of it is sighting too, right? So in the pool, you don't have to sight. You're looking at a black line, you're breathing on the side. But out in the open water, you're aiming for a landmark or a buoy, and you're trying to see where the other athletes even are going. So if when you're alone, it's a little hard as well with sighting. But in a race, you also have to deal with people beside you, right? You don't want to get kicked or punched and elbowed in the face, and that's the classic is a triathlon start. You never know what's going to happen to those starts with the hundreds of people starting at the same time as you. So it's definitely, open water swimming is pretty daunting to start, but you got to have the right gear as well to master the craft and to get better at swimming outside and more confident too.
Yeah, I remember seeing the video of Lionel Sanders having, it might have been Oceanside, I forget which race it was, but having a panic attack right at the start line, and I think it was due to the cold water. Is It didn't have a proper warm up, went right into the and just kind of his heart started racing and just started having a panic attack at the beginning of his race. I guess, like, what is your general, when you're going in those open water scenarios, like, how do you prepare yourself to try to, like, warm up, and based on all the people on the start line, any specific gear or anything you try to do to do it as safely as possible and prepare for that?
Yeah, I like, panicking is a big thing. like you said, Lionel, a lot of pros have panic attacks as well, and also I have my fair share of panic attacks in the water. That's for sure. Either cold water, or you're just something doesn't feel right. You're claustrophobic, or you feel like something's gonna eat you. That's another thing. It's a lot of fun. You're freezing. Oh yeah. Some nice irrational fears come up. You're just swimming, minding your own business, and you're in a river, and you're like, hey, a shark's gonna come eat my feet. Like, you're just losing your mind sometimes too. So it's pretty crazy. It plays a mental toll on you too. But some things for sure to help you out is, open water is a wetsuit, helps you stay buoyant and actually helps you float and swim in some degree. It is kind of restricting, which also kind of leads to panic attacks. Is It feels very claustrophobic because it's like really tight to your body, and it does reduce mobility on but you got to get used to it, just like anything else, like a new pair of shoes. You got to break it in and kind of know where the soft spots are, and try to beat the stiffness of the wetsuit. Another good thing for training is a swim buoy to stay safe, just literally for visibility. And if you need a break in the water, you just hold on to it. I think every open water swim I have, I take a break and I hold on to the buoy. So those are two big things for open water swimming. And then there's the usual goggles, swim cap if you want, and stuff like that. And don't forget the swimsuit.
So is it like cycling where you don't want to wear underwear with your bib? Are you wearing swim trunks or like what are you have your full tri suit under your wetsuit, for example?
Oh, you know me, Brian. I'm a big underwear freak. I wear underwear on the bibs, so you can't ask me that question. I'm wearing jeans under the wetsuit. You know me. No, just kidding. But I usually do for training. I'll do swim trunks or even a pair of dry fit underwear underneath the wetsuit. But for races, you usually do a tri suit, so like a full zip up tri suit before, like underneath your wetsuit, so that way you could take the wetsuit off. And there's complimentary strippers at races that strip the wetsuit off of you, so that's real nice.
Wait, they're there and you can just like lay down and they'll rip it right off?
Oh yeah, you spread
Really?
you spread it out, you spread eagle, you lay down, and they just zoop zip it off of you. It's nice,
Wow.
and
That's
they're
nice.
they're volunteers. Shout out to all those volunteers. They're nice.
I understand why these events cost so much money. Like the service. Wow.
It's a full service. It's a full service from T1 to finish line. You get a poutine at the end too. It's great.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's not something I would have known about without listening to you talk about it. Very cool. So, and now looking forward, once you're done the swim, you're hopping on the bike. But when you are a true triathlon head, you're not using a regular road bike. You've probably then upgraded to a time trial bike. Is that the right term?
Yes, I know you're a big biker man, and you want to know a little bit more about a TT bike. So there actually is two different terminologies. There is a TT bike and a time trial bike. They are slightly different. I'm not the pro to know exactly, but it has to do with the geometry of the bike. Uh, either one is a little bit more aggressive with the bike stem and the handlebars, but I do not quote me. I don't know the real difference, but they're two of the same thing. But yeah, you do want a triathlon bike, I'll call it, and it's a spot to take a nap. You just lay down in aero mode and you just shut the brain off and spin the legs on the big dinner plate on the big ring. So it's nice. It definitely does help with the efficiency of your longer ride. I don't think there'd be much of a difference with a regular road bike on a shorter race, let's say, or some sort of sprint, but triathlon bikes definitely do help for those longer distances.
Right. And you mentioned the keyword efficiency. So these are more aerodynamic because you're in that kind of prone position.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that prone position, of course, you might suffer a little bit more on your back and that sort of thing. So your bike setup needs to be properly mapped out and understood. Did you work with somebody to get that right aerodynamic position so that you were balancing performance as well as comfort on that bike?
Yeah, highly recommend a bike fit on those types of bikes. Get your saddle position perfectly, and like you said, drive that efficiency to the maximum for the most amount of power output for the time you're going to be out there for, and also reduce pain, aches and pains, because remember, you got to run after. So also the geometry, I think, promotes less hamstring activation, so it kind of saves your hamstrings up for the run a little bit. More emphasis on the quads, so it is a very very good idea to get a bike fit for sure. It'll help you in the long run. I think it helps with some numbness as well as some other uncomfortable situations you might have even later on that you don't even know about during that exact time.
Yeah, I was actually my friend Albert just did his first 70.3 in Muskoka this past weekend, and he was kind of telling me about his journey of a day. And he was kind of telling me that for him, the swim felt, you're fresh. It felt easy. He got on the bike. He had a few difficulties. Well, he was just using a road bike, because when you're just getting into it, it's just nice to just use the bike you have and then figure it out from there, which was nice. But he kind of learned a few things, getting aero bars. He was saying that because Muskoka is hilly, on a few of the descents where people were just zooming by him, that his rear cassette set he was maxing out, and then he was just spinning. He wasn't actually able to gain speed. So he learned a few of those things. But for him, the one big thing he was saying was that in that last 10K of the run after that bike, he was just dead. The elevation and like pushing on that bike, he was just so tired that it just had like his run legs had nothing left. What kind of workouts and things would you recommend for better preparing for that transition to the most like the part that has the most impact on your legs after already doing so much activity before?
The run legs after the full bike is something else. It's especially near the end, you have nothing left in the tank and you can't feel your legs and you're just trying to go. But the best thing, and Muskoka is very hilly, so that's a really tough course. I found myself really struggling on the uphills, trying not to use my hamstrings actually. To In my back of my head, I was saying I want to conserve my legs for the run, but at that point you can't. You're climbing, you're doing whatever you can to get through the climbs, and then you got to run, right? So it's pretty tough on your body for sure. But to get to used to all of that, brick runs. You got to get onto those bricks. I know you've done a few too, Andrew. I've peeped your Strava. You've done a few brick runs, so some brick workouts definitely are a key part of any training block for a triathlon, and I try to incorporate minimum one per week, and obviously based on your distance, you try to go longer based on the distance, like I said. So there is kind of a max out though. You don't want to go too much because it's kind of like marathon training. You don't want to go over that threshold of benefit versus recovery time and risk for injury. So you got to play with those ratios a little bit as well. But I find you could kind of cheat a little bit more with the brick workout, getting a very long bike in and a semi-long run in. So it's good to get on the legs that way too.
I was going to ask about the ratio between the two, but that makes sense considering the bike is generally enough longer than the run, and it's just more to just get that feeling in the legs from fatigue and not necessarily pushing to that, I'm dead part that you are potentially going to feel on race day.
I think this goes beyond people training for a triathlon. If you are somebody who enjoys biking and running, combining those into a brick run, which again is starting with that bike straight into a run afterwards, it's just nice. Like if you enjoy the suffering that endurance sport brings to your muscles, your body, your mental, and you enjoy those workouts, a brick run is a great way to test yourself with a little bit like of a different type of workout, because I've seen over the last maybe 2 months or so since I started doing a few brick workouts that the sessions are getting better and better, and my legs are feeling much better going into that run after doing a cycling session. And it's just nice to see progress in some different way, because I remember that first brick session I did, it literally felt like I had dumbbells strapped to the bottom of my feet and it was impossible to run. And now it's night and day. It's just fun to do those workouts, and you feel your legs are juiced coming off the bike, and hopping into even a slow run is very enjoyable.
Or a progression run is nice too.
Just a little hot tip that I discovered this past weekend. If you're cycling out and you're doing a one way, you just take your bib shorts, you tuck your running shoes into your bib shorts, just right there when you're biking, your run gear in one of your jersey pockets, still arrow, bike to your destination, park the bike, change. It worked
Stop.
wonderful. Oh
I've
yeah.
never done that.
It
That's a
was
game
so nice.
changer.
Because at first I was like the night before, should I go drop off stuff because I was going to a different city? But oh no, those bib shorts.
You put them in the bib
Oh yeah,
shorts?
just tucked them right in the bib shorts, and they stayed in place, didn't bug me, and yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, it was hilarious because he came to meet us before we started our BIM group ride, just to stop by and say hello. And I saw like he looked like kind of like a some sort of dinosaur with these
Oh yeah, yeah.
spikes in his back, and I
Just
touched his bike,
Quasimodo.
and he's got a few shoes in there. Guy's got full wardrobe. It was nice.
He's got the vapor flies in there ready to fly.
Oh yeah, Quasi on the bike, baby.
Not a one trick pony anymore.
Oh no, I got a few more tricks up my sleeve. I just got to give me time to reveal them.
And I see you're inquiring about swimming, so that might be another trick up the sleeve.
We'll see on that one. Any last minute hot tips on someone that wants to do their first triathlon?
We talked about speed work, we talked about transitions, water temperatures. It's usually cold. Just deal with it. It's tough, but it's nice. It's like you're doing an ice bath, you're swimming, you're kind of recovering, you're not really recovering. It's nice. It's fun. It's a fun time. But no, that's I think we covered the gist of it with a little bit more emphasis on the hey how to get to swimming. But no, yeah, I think if you want to do it like Andrew was mentioning, start with the smaller stuff and before jumping all in with all the gear and all the fun stuff, you try to see if you like it first or do some on the side like some self-supported ones as what I mean. Like just do a swim, have your bike parked beside the beach, go for a bike ride and just run a couple K after, see how you feel.
Very nice. Well, thank you for letting us dig into the world of triathlon. It's crazy what you guys do.
We've reached that time. I think all the viewers' favorite time of the week, and that is Tyler's hot tip of the week. What do you got for us this week?
So I got a hot take and it has to do with cycling. And I did do a little bit of digging on this after the fact. So my hot take is wider tires make you faster on the bike. I think that with wider set tires, you go faster.
I feel very attacked with my 23s.
23 and me, not me, baby. Not with me. I had 23s on my TT bike, and local bike shop convinced me to switch to 28s. Best thing I've ever done in my life.
As the resident cyclist, I 100% agree. I think I'm rolling 28s on my bike. I really like them. I think they're an upgrade from the 25s that I have. If you're interested in seeing some of the science behind this hot take, which I'm on board, check out NorCal Cycling. He is a criterion racer. I think he's a category 1 or a pro crit racer out of Northern California, and he did a full deep dive analysis where he actually built a time trial course, tested out different widths of tires, and he reached that same conclusion. And speed is, of course, important, but I think what might be even more important is enjoyment on the bike. And part of enjoying your time on the bike is being comfortable. And rolling bigger wheels is more comfortable. You absorb bumps better. You can ride on slightly rougher terrain without damaging your bike or popping a tire or hurting your butt. So 100% slightly wider is the way to go for all roadies.
Big agree.
I'll consider it. I'll take it into consideration. But for now, I'm going to keep rolling on my 23s.
Andrew, I think 10 wall 28 is calling your name, baby.
Okay. Okay. We got to move on to the next segment. You've lost me. And yeah, on that note, we just wanted to give a huge shout out to Ryan Keeping. He just finished his run across Canada, getting to Victoria, BC. And I mean, obviously, the physic running about 75 kilometers every day over 99 days. And just, I mean, that's just mind blowing. It's hard to wrap your head around. But also through it, I was able to raise around $230,000 on GoFundMe. So that's also pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you know, his saying is flip the switch. Boys in motion, let's call it out. We're flipping the switch here. Great job, Ryan. I think he really brought a huge community together, which raised a ton of money and also shed light on a great cause. He was raising for the Terry Fox Foundation, and that's for heart and stroke. So it's just fantastic to see, all the great effort that he was able to put out and how much that returned, not only in monetary, but also the community that he's built around himself. I saw some of those runs when he's going through Toronto, I think it was Calgary. It was just amazing to see so many people out following him, supporting him. My one regret is he didn't come through Ottawa when I was there because I wish I could have run with him.
Love it. I posted something too. I reposted one of their posts today. I found that crazy. I didn't realize they grabbed a jug of Atlantic water and poured it into the Pacific. Just amazing. Cherry on top.
Yeah, it's very cool. So while talking about shout outs, I got to give a few shout outs as well from some people in the community. One is Sean, a BIM boy who actually went out on his first group ride with us last weekend. That was pretty cool. And he wanted a quick shout out. I posted a nice picture. It was his first time ever wearing bibs and a jersey. And, he didn't mind it and he loved the group ride. And it took him a little bit to kind of learn to follow wheels and that sort of thing. But he was a natural by the end of it. And then my little cousin James, Tyler, you're gonna love this. He came over to visit me and he had been watching some of our shorts on YouTube and Instagram, and he was quoting your pierogi video back at me, talking about adding a little salt in that bag of pierogies to enjoy at the top of the hill. What do you think of that?
Hey, you know what? Gotta get the boys on the pierogi gang. Start them young. Get the pierogies flowing. Get mama to boil up some pierogies. Put some salt on it.
Yeah, so it's hilarious. Just very good to see, some people really loving what we're putting out there. Yeah, so that's pretty much what we've got today. Although there is something, Tyler, that you wanted to ask me about. What was that?
I got a nice challenge for you. I think you're gonna have to start running 1K per follower we gain.
That sounds interesting, but also very scary. So right now, and I can't believe we're going to do this, but until Friday of this week, if somebody follows us on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok, or all four, for each extra follow we get from the 102 followers we have across all those platforms right now, I will be running 1 kilometer next week. So share this with your friends, your family, get our account, spread it around, follow all the pages, and put me through the pain cave. I'm looking to do some running next week, so we'll see how high we can get that number to tick. And on Friday, we'll see what that number is, and then hopefully I can tackle it. But hey, if the number is really large, I might need to lean on the two of you.
I'm gonna look at Andy for this.
I could maybe take a few kilometers from you. Just a few though.
So right now on Spotify, we have 19 followers, YouTube 21 subscribers, Instagram 60 followers, TikTok only 2. Sad number. We got to see those pumped up. So get me running. Every follow is 1 kilometer of running next week, followed by Friday evening.
You know this could be dangerous, right?
Hey, what else are you living for if you're not trying to run far?
That's true.
Love it. Yeah, so if you get any nuggets of insight from this episode or any of the others, please give us a follow on all the platforms so that you can contribute 4 kilometers to Brian's week next week. He'd love it.
This is going to be dangerous.
What if someone unfollows and refollows?
Doesn't count. We're going off the raw
Okay.
follower count across all platforms.
I'm gonna push.
And push it, share it with your families and friends. I know we're all going to post a post to Facebook to see if we can drive some people to the Boys in Motion. And yeah, we'll see how big that gets. I'm a little scared now that we're actually actualizing it and talking about it. It was all fun and games before, but now that it's going out in the world, sheesh, I'm already.
Sheesh, you're gonna have to drink a lot of pool water for that.
And you know what's real funny is we're going on a little bike ride this weekend. And the timing of this is a little bit interesting. So I'm going to be doing some promoting this week is all I'm going to say.
Yeah, this is actually bad because I've said it's 300 kilometers. Oh, it's 330. It's actually 185 the first day and 175 the second day. So we're biking a ton of friggin' Ks. And now I've got this running challenge. So the next 2 weeks, I don't know, my legs might not be functioning.
Peak week.
Peak week for the Boys in Motion 5K that we're trying to schedule.
Yeah. So if any followers also want to send us a coffin for Brian for the end of next week, please do. Please send it our way.
We'll start a GoFundMe.
Love it. You'll be getting a treadmill for your desk and just treadmill running all day as you're on Zoom meetings.
That's exactly it. All right, well, that brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you very much for spending your valuable time with us. I hope you learned something. As we mentioned, check out our pages. We've got that new website that just launched, boysinmotion.com. We'll talk to you very, very soon.
Cheers.
Disclaimer, we should probably say this. We're not professionals, and most of what we say is just our own experience. So please follow up with a medical professional before implementing anything that we recommended.
Boys in Motion out.